So, good evening, rabbis, rebbitzins, family, and friends. So here we are. Last week Thursday, I was having what the kids of today call a DMC, or a deep, meaningful conversation with Rabbi Shlomo. We were just talking about life and what I'm doing next year. Don't ask me. And during our discussion, I expressed my worries about starting a speech for the graduation. He replied that I should just reflect on where I am right now and where I've come from. While thinking about it, I just came from home and I'm standing in front of 50 people waiting to hear an amazing speech. Anyways, you're just joking, I actually did understand what Rabbi Shlomo meant. When I stand back and reflect on where I am currently and where I've come from, words simply fail to explain the amount of gratitude I have for coming to the school. Obviously, I've had my fair shares of ups and downs, just like anyone would have in any school. But when I look at the entire picture, I can say that I truly made the right decision to come to the school. I came to CTTH in 2015, and I think Deborah and I are the third set of students who have gone through the entire CTTH schooling, from grade 7 to 12, as Aidan only joined us in grade 9. I and my fellow graduates have gone through a lot through these years. We've struggled through the grueling projects, stayed up until the crack of dawn learning for the progress tests, spent hours going through the same piece of Gemara. Oh, no, that's not true. But I think most of all, and I think most importantly, we've learned over these years. We have learned what it means to take responsibility, to be dependable, to represent Torah and Yiddishkeit in Cape Town. But one defining aspect of CGTH I want to highlight tonight, the one defining aspect for me which I'm so grateful for, is the characteristic of building bridges in the different spheres of the world in which I live. When I asked my father about any Torah source for building bridges, because if I never had any Torah into this, I'd be Chayiv Skiller, he told me about a personality in the Gemara that frequently pops up in some heated Talmudic debates, and that is the great sage of Rabbin. Any true scholar of Talmud Bavli, so a typical CTTH student, would instantly recognize the popular phrase Ki ata Rabbin, which translates to when Rabbin came. Just some background information, Rabbin lived in Yerushalayim in the time when the Talmud was being recorded. And during this time, there were two bastions in the Jewish world, the Jewish community in Yerushalayim and in Babylonia. Just a side note, these two establishments came to be after the first temple was destroyed and the Babylonian king of Nebuchadnezzar exiled the Jews to Babylon. The Jews lived until many, but not all, joined the Shivat Zion, or the return to Zion of Ezra and Nehemiah, when they eventually rebuilt the second temple. However, we all know how that went. After the destruction of the second temple, the Jewish civilization in Babylonia was still thriving, and this is also when the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Jerusalem Talmud, and the Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, started to be developed. And Rabbin was the bridge between these two pillars of Yiddishkeit. He would trek from Yerushalayim and spread the teachings he learned from the sage there to his peers in Babylon. While this may not seem so important, I think there's something highly significant about his actions. Rabbin was bridging the gap between the two Torah giants, which not only fostered a stronger connection between these two Jewish worlds, despite their distance, but even if the sages in Babylon would not agree with the teachings of the rabbis in Yerushalayim, they would still treat Rabbin with respect and heard what he had to say. What Rabbin would say is called gravitas, apparently that's a word, even in the Babylonian Vedic traditions. And I would suggest that CTTH is analogous to the great sages of Rabbin. The product of CTTH is the fact that it ingrains in every child that walks through its doors the ability to face two different opinions in his Yiddishkeit. And even if he does not necessarily agree with any of those opinions, he's able to treat both of them with respect. And this is seen in our everyday lives. CTTH houses kids coming from many different backgrounds, from Chabad to modern Orthodox to traditional to Minhag Opert. And while we may not agree on the way to act, we all accept the validity of each other's traditions. And this is extremely noteworthy, as it allows us to understand what Hillel means in Pirkei Avos when he says, do not separate yourself from the community. The question obviously is, isn't that a bit cryptic? Isn't that a bit, what's the dramatic effect? Obvious? I mean, okay, fine, the community rabbi forgot to say Shabbos to you on Friday night, but do you really have to take that as your cue to send in your resignation letter? What I suggest Hillel saying is that a community is, by definition, made up of different opinions coming together as a whole. This can obviously cause trouble within the community, as some people do not agree with another person's approach to life. These discrepancies cause people to want to disconnect from the whole. However, what Ravin and the Babylonian sages teach us, and what CTTH infuses within every child, is a spirit of acceptance and love for another's beliefs, an idea of bridging the gap between each other's actions. There's more. And then going even further, I would suggest that CTTH offers even more. Throughout the Talmud, there are many rabbis who engaged with the secular world. They connected their Torah worlds to the general world around them. The great sage Shammai was a builder, and the Tana Rabbi Yochanan was called Hassanla, or the shoemaker. And even later, the great commentator Rashi was a vintner. So throughout the ages, we see that our greatest rabbis have not exactly locked themselves up in a base medrash, learning until their heart's desires, but they would actively engage with the world around them and bring the holiness of Torah into their every action. They would bridge the gap between the holy sphere, Torah learning, to the mundane sphere of everyday comings and goings. And this again is what CTTH offers us. It offers every student an incredible dual curriculum where we can imitate our sages, engage in rigorous Torah study, and subsequently become competent members of society with our values still deeply entrenched in Torah morals. And let's not joke around. Cape Town is filled with many secular outlets that entice each and every one of us. Some more than others, okay? But all of us. Though what CTH facilitates is how we can broach these secular openings with a Torah mindset, eager to bridge our foundation in Yiddishkeit to the world around us. But obviously this holistic approach to life, this way of not only engaging with and accepting those in the Jewish community we do not necessarily agree with, but also engaging with the secular world around us, would not be possible without the guidance and support of those around me. Because I'm running out of time, I cannot spell out each and every person who's helped me along the way. But you know who you are. My parents, my family, my dedicated teachers, both past and present, my friends, my fellow graduates. I want to thank you and express my deepest gratitude for this roller coaster journey you've helped me ride. This journey from just another kid coming into the school in 2015 to a man leaving in 2020 who feels ready to face that big unknown. Someone who will take these essential teachings on throughout his life and knows full well that he will have the complete support and love from those behind him. Thank you.